Welcome back, nonprofit leaders. My name is Tasha Anderson. I'm the host today, and I am going to be talking about one of my loves in life, nonprofit branding and marketing and the trends. I talk about this a lot on the podcast. Number one, because I really like marketing and branding. But number two, I think it's from my own experience changing all the time, every day, constantly. In the for-profit, nonprofit world, it doesn't matter. I'm constantly spinning my wheels trying to figure out what needs to happen next for my own business. I see this also applicable for the nonprofit world. I just don't think it's possible to talk about marketing too much because things are moving so fast in the marketing world that I think it's really relevant for nonprofits to stay up to speed on what's working, what's not working, and what's emerging. But I am not necessarily an expert. I'm kind of a grassroots self-taught person. I often joke that I'm the chief marketing officer in addition to the CEO here at the charity CFO. But I'm an accountant by training, and I have absolutely no business being the chief marketing officer. But I love connecting what people do with those that need those services. So I really kind of geek out on the psychology behind marketing. It's a passion of mine. But I'm not an expert. In fact, I brought along an expert, my new friend, Dr. Dustin York. You are the associate professor at Maryville University, and you actually are an expert in marketing. I don't know if I get to say that very often when we bring guests on that, a professor and a doctor, from a university can actually speak some, words of wisdom to us. But I know you're really busy, and I want to first say thank you for being so generous with your time and coming on board this podcast and sharing a little bit more of the things we need to know to our nonprofit leaders. So thank you.
Tasha, I appreciate the invitation. I'm excited to dive in, give your listeners some very tactical things they can think about using for their nonprofit. But first, I gotta give you your flowers. When you say that you have a hat in marketing, I think in every single nonprofit, every person within that nonprofit is partly a marketer. Like
Hmm.
basically all that means though, like it's a fancy term, but they're storytellers, right? How can we
Yeah.
storytell the great things that we're doing so people hear it so they can be engaged in some way? So I hope everyone listening, even if their title isn't marketing, they are storytellers and they can get something out of this.
It's so true. I started this firm 9.5 years ago, and I really love talking with founders of nonprofits because I am also a founder. And I had this idea of creating this, shared service model to help fill in this, tremendous gap of accounting and financial talent. But, I'm biased. I thought I was pretty good at what I do, but I really honestly had a moment of reflection of like, it doesn't matter how good I am if nobody knows that I exist, right? So, and I know the problem is there, right? But people need to know I exist. And I don't mean that in an ego way because that makes me think exactly what nonprofits are there for. There is a need in the community. There are good resources available, but if people don't know that you exist, how can you connect your intention of what you're trying to do with those that desperately need that service? So I feel like I very much have that in common with leaders of nonprofits. And for me, hyper focusing on marketing and branding for the purpose of getting the word out and getting people to know that we exist. So when they are in a situation or a time in their, organizational life cycle that they need support, they at least know that there are options out there, because that's also can be very overwhelming, to try to find those options. So I think this is very applicable to the nonprofit world, but it's especially near and dear to me because, I felt like I had that in common with them.
I think it also, in nonprofits, small businesses, I mean, all organizations, it's lacking resources or need more time or more people. There's so many things in
Hmm.
marketing, in communication that I think that overwhelm isn't needed.
Hmm.
We don't
Hmm.
need an Anheuser-Busch budget for
Right.
agencies and Facebook ads and whatnot. There are so many things that a lot of the stuff we're already doing that we
Yeah.
can just put a little bit of sprinkle on it to get some traction. That doesn't cost $10,000 budget or anything like that. I
Yeah.
think that will shock people. I think those
Yeah.
kind of opportunities.
I can attest to that. We'll get into that more later, but I have had people regularly comment, oh, your marketing is so great, whatever. How many people do you have on your marketing team? I said, I don't actually have a single full-time person that, and they're shocked by that. I said, we're pretty like grassroots with some of that, and part of the reason is because it just changes so quickly that to go all in and invest on some big, initiative or a really expensive solution, whatever that might be, I try to be very nimble and flexible, which kind of brings me to my first question, Dustin. Like, let's start big picture. Let's start there. Marketing is changing quickly all the time. From your experience right now, what are the emerging marketing skills you think nonprofit professionals or maybe not even professionals, they don't necessarily have, but what are the marketing skills that you think nonprofits need to have in-house or adjacent? They need to have access to these skills.
That's a great question. So right before we jumped on, before we were talking off air about, I have a professor, and I love this because it changes every semester, right? We were talking about that.
Yeah.
And these are the things. These are the things I'm literally teaching my MBA students, our undergraduate students, that these skills really do change over time.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember just years back, we were like blockchain and how we're going to use blockchain for marketing. Now it's new things. So I'll give you three things, two that are the obvious, and then I'll try to give you one that is not as well known or not everyone's talking about. There's not every article in the world about. The two
Okay.
that are most common, right? That you're going to find a lot on the articles that are the trending topics, and they are the two biggest ones. AI agents, right? Which
Hmm.
will help dramatically, especially with nonprofits without those budgets. How
Hmm.
I think about AI and AI agents that you build, whether that be Claude works really well for writing. ChatGPT, if you haven't played with Notebook LM, it's amazing, absolutely
Mm.
amazing for long-term brand elements. What is not talked about as much is these chat GPTs, they will give you about 70% of a McKinsey and Company or a
Hmm.
Deloitte
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
some sort of consultation company. They'll give you
Hmm.
70% of that
Hmm.
for $20 a month for the
Right.
pro version of these. So I think those building some agents that you can really rip offline and they can be working with you. SEO support. I mean, Tasha, I teach an SEO class and I'm even thinking like right now we're in it right now in the summer semester. And we're building out AI agents to do the SEO that takes about 40% of that work off of the person's plate and do the
Hmm.
SEO work for them. So AI is one. I want to give you a flower here. The second one that you'll see a lot of information about is podcasts, but
Hmm.
specifically video podcasts.
Hmm. Hmm.
There's a pandemic day where podcasts up and to the right, and they've plateaued or decreased slightly, but video podcasts, and you've
Hmm.
seen them if you've ever pulled up TikTok, right? The little
Yeah.
60-second snippets of video podcasts that are driving traffic to long form, video podcasts, YouTube podcast.
Yeah.
Look up your favorite podcaster on YouTube and see how many views they're getting on YouTube. It's going to shock you, right? So I think
Hmm.
those are the two big ones, right? That you're not going to surprise anyone, but in our field, those are the two big ones. Tasha, I want to give you a surprise one though.
Okay.
Under the radar for free, practically, right? Due to a little YouTube watching, you can build one. An Apple Wallet Pass. Okay. An
Okay.
Apple Wallet Pass. You know what these are. If you've ever gone
Yeah.
to like a Cardinals game or Disney World, and on
Uh-huh.
your phone, it has your ticket on your
Right.
phone, right? These are free. You can watch some YouTube videos and build your own for absolutely free. What's really cool about those wallet passes, every nonprofit can build one for themselves for practically free, and it takes the place of an app. Everyone's talking about how can I
Hmm.
buy an app? How can I build apps are expensive. Like
Right.
you're not going to just go out and just buy a really good app for a wallet, a wallet pass can give you some of the same push notifications that an app can do. That's basically what you're using it for, is push notifications. It gives you opportunities to scan in for events and all these things. It
Hmm.
gives you a lot of that same opportunity to market that an app does. But instead of
Okay.
paying $15,000 for that app, watch some YouTube videos, make an Apple Wallet pass. That's my under
Okay.
the radar
I have to look into
technique.
that. I'm
Yep.
not familiar with that.
So those are three things that from the professor this week to watch some YouTube videos, go down some rabbit holes, AI agents, video podcasts specifically, and test out an Apple Wallet Pass.
Yeah, I want to go back to something you said because I think people get very squirrely with AI, and
Hmm.
maybe it's been said enough now. People aren't as squirrely about it, but I think there's this fear, and we've had podcasts about AI in the past. That
Hmm.
is it ethical? Is it what are the pros and cons against it? And is it replacing jobs? They've been
Hmm.
saying this too. AI over the next 5 years is going to replace all accountants' jobs and things like that. I was like, look. If they could do that, like they could have the work, a lot of the work that we have to do for our clients, right? As I've said, I'm like, AI is not going to fully replace humans. I use AI a lot for like creative brainstorming, like that sort of thing. I definitely embrace it. But it's what I keep hearing, and I think I'm subscribing to now is that what you just said, you still do SEO, but it is now streamlined it, it probably allows you to do it faster, more just efficiently, and probably ultimately lead to better results. So that's what I've said too. I think that the work that I use AI for allows me to yield better results in less time. So it's like a tool. Just like in the accounting world, we used to have everything on green column paper, right? And now we have, actually accounting tech databases that makes the work so much more timely and more accurate, more user friendly, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not really convinced that AI is coming for the accounting jobs because I also like to joke, our clients half the time don't even know what the expenses are for. I don't think a robot's going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So, but hey, if they could simplify all of that and continue to make it easier and easier for nonprofits to stay compliant with finance, like I would probably even invest in that. So we're always trying to keep them out of trouble. But when it comes to, AI and marketing and grant writing and things like that, um, I think the same is true. I think it's going to allow us to do more better. Now, you could also be really sloppy and lazy about it, let's be honest. And I can see things that are clearly AI and clearly not accurate. So you want to be thoughtful about it. But I think those that are doing it really, really well are going to see the results of that. And I think people are still going to find the content interesting and valuable. And hey, everybody's going to win in that way.
I
Think you
tell
can
you,
make a case for the unethical and the cons against it too. But I'm just trying to stay in light and positivity
in
today.
the positive world, Tasha, I tell you what, if I get an email marketing blast from you nowadays and there's six M dashes in that marketing newsletter, that's AI. AI loves M dashes. Yeah, to your point, you can see
Now,
right
what's an
through.
M dash? Just so I can be on the lookout too.
An M dash is that horizontal line, but it's like longer than a traditional line. It's an actual
Oh
punctuation
yeah, yeah,
mark.
almost like page break kind of.
Almost, right? It's just in
Yeah.
between words. It separates two. It's
Oh
a
yeah, yeah, yeah,
real
yeah.
punctuation mark. No one knows how to actually make that. Almost no one knows how to actually
Right.
make that thing on a keyboard. But yeah, to your point, think of it as your partner, right?
Hmm.
AI is your partner that can help you do things. Is it going to take your full job? No, it'll take a chunk of it, right? Make you
Hmm.
be able to open up your plate for other things that you didn't have opportunity for before. Absolutely. On the other side, what I think the worry is those entry level jobs,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Will it take a department of six down to five,
Right.
with that entry level job being that one that is getting the cross sales? It's going to be interesting. The next 5 years, it's going to be
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's the case that we're seeing for a lot of same in the tech world, software engineering, that sort of thing. AI is replacing, unfortunately, yeah, a lot of those. Which I mean, that's not the purpose of this conversation, but it does get me thinking, like, what does that mean for a talent pipeline?
Yeah.
If all of the, struggling, like, the struggle is real, learn, evolve, grow. If all of that can be done by a robot, what does that mean for people starting their careers and how do they get there? I think it'll just look different. Their kind of first year or two, into a career is just going to look different maybe than what ours did. I don't know. All right. So with all this activity going on, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I actually am a little countercultural in the sense that as much as I love marketing, I very much keep my life quiet with
Mm.
marketing. I'm not overly active on social media. I don't consume a lot of content out there. There's just so much, right? There's so much content out there. I love it for whenever I'm looking for an answer to something, I can search and I can find it, but I'm not necessarily someone to consume um, all the time. And with this influx of content that's just being created day after day after day after day, it seems like it's hard to cut through the noise. And I think nonprofits have always had this challenge of how to get people to know that we exist. But I think it's especially hard now if you're not in the marketing business. So this is where I'd really love to hear some insights from you on how can a nonprofit cut through some of that noise
Mm.
to at least know people exist, but even beyond that, build that emotional connection with some sort of stakeholders, whether it's donors, program participants, or whatever it might be.
Awesome. So I'll set you up two ways. I'll give you
Okay.
the nuts and bolts direction and then an actual way of thinking about this content. So first, the
Mhm.
fun one. So let's say we're a nonprofit. Say we are a humane society. We have 100 dogs, cute, adorable puppies, right? Some
Mhm.
adult puppies, dogs. We want them all to be adopted. Instead of marketing all 100 puppies, all 100 dogs, you pick one dog, just one of
Mhm.
them, and you mark it, you tell the story of that one dog. This is my dog's name is Luca. So
Mhm.
Luca is this dog. He loves watching reruns of Big Bang Theory and
Hmm.
wrestling and walks. Want to make people fall in love with Luca.
Mm.
When Tasha comes in, I saw the stuff on Luca, fantastic, connect you. You adopted Luca. Dustin, I come in an hour later. I saw the stuff on Luca. I fell in
Right.
love with Luca. Can I? The person says, fortunately, Luca has a fantastic family, just this
Hmm.
morning. But let me introduce you to Blake. Blake
Mm.
also likes, it's not a switch and bait sort of thing. It's saying, how can I make you fall in love with one person, one
Hmm.
animal, one thing? Because we can't think abstract. If you show me
Right.
100 dogs, like picture 100 dogs in the room you're in.
Hmm.
I don't
It's
know what that
overwhelming.
means.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Right.
Focus on so stories. How can I make stories about one person that was positively affected because of this nonprofit?
Mm.
One person within our nonprofit of what's the why? Why are they
Right.
working here? Right?
Right.
So
Right.
I think look at that, but here's the nuts and bolts. So you think, okay, if you're just listening to this podcast, you don't know this, but I'm a ginger. So you're thinking, okay, ginger, I get it. I'm going to tell stories, but like I don't have much time. Right?
Hmm.
I need more time in my day to go out and make all of these stories. Tasha, let me walk you through. I have a number of I do these corporate workshops, and they do these after I leave. I walk them through these steps, and I will give you the sauce for free right now. This is what you do: take a podcast like what we're doing right now. All right, we're making
Hmm.
this podcast. We're doing video as well. If you're watching this video, and you have an interview with someone who is positively affected by your nonprofit. They tell their
Hmm.
story. It could be a
Hmm.
10-minute thing, it could be a 15-minute thing. Long form, that's a YouTube video. That's also a
Hmm.
podcast. Rip the audio,
Hmm.
it's a pod. That's it. Okay. That took you a lot of time though. You're like, oh, I
Hmm.
can't keep doing that, right? Do
Hmm.
one a month. You got a YouTube video, you got a podcast.
Right.
Then what you can do, you can rip out 60 seconds of that video. That's your Instagram content. You can make
Right.
TikTok content of
Right.
it. You can take screenshots of that actual video. That becomes still images. That can become new email newsletter content.
Hmm.
Just transcribe that. That's a draft of like a version of a blog or an
Hmm.
article, right? You can
Hmm.
create 60 pieces of content from one interview
Right.
via
Right.
Zoom about one person, right? What do you think about
Hmm.
that idea of being able to tell a story through 60 pieces of content? Do you think that's scalable for some of your listeners?
100% because I do the same thing. It started the same thing. So, fun fact, I don't know if I should disclose this, but people know my
Behind the
personality, know
scenes? Okay.
I just say all the things. So it's funny when I started this podcast, I just had really cool conversations I was having with people like yourself that were like, "Hey, do you know about this?" I'm like, "What? That sounds like something I should record and somehow share with my clients, right?" So what I started doing, I had two goals. One, capture information that was really interesting and share with leaders because I know they were struggling with similar problems. Two, I needed to focus on becoming searchable, right? So that goes back
Mhm.
to SEO. So I got this idea very much like what you described, where it's like, I'm going to start, rather than me just coming up with, oh, what am I going to talk about today? I'm going to start capturing video and audio conversations with some of my, colleagues that I regularly talk to. And I started with kind of my circle of peers, and some of my clients, and we talked about those issues. And I did exactly what you described. And then I was able to fill my entire content calendar, but more importantly, convert those conversations that so many nonprofit leaders were having into some sort of searchable, format by way of blog or because I had the video also, I would put it up on clips and videos and YouTube because they say that beyond Google, and maybe this has changed now with ChatGPT or whatever, but YouTube is like the second largest search engine. So if you don't have video content on there to help answer some of these questions, then you're missing the mark there as well. And so I really needed a low lift way. Again, I have this in common with you all. I was, young and scrappy and didn't have a marketing budget, and I felt like, how can I and I also didn't have a lot of time. That time was actually more important to me. Like, I don't have time to go create all of these individual things. How can I create a bit of a story with the conversation that I'm trying to just share that information? And I did that. And it's funny, I think maybe a whole year went by. This is the confession time. A whole year went by before I even really paid attention to the stats on this podcast. And then somebody's like, "Do you know you have like one of the top podcasts in nonprofit?" I go, "I have no idea." Like I just record it because I find the topics interesting because my clients are like, I have this problem. Do you know anybody? And I'm just having conversations I like about topics that I find fascinating and relevant. And I just put them out there on, podcasters or whatever, not paying any attention to how many people are actually listening to it. And now I think we have like 70,000 people or something that listen to it, which is unheard of. And my team still laugh at me sometimes. I'm like, I'm just surprised people actually like really actually enjoy listening to me talk about these things. But it all kind of happened sort of quasi accidental. It had positive benefits that I didn't realize. And I absolutely think that could happen for nonprofits because I had the same issues. Like I didn't have a lot of time. I didn't have a marketing staff to do it. I didn't have a budget to necessarily execute it. Um, and it creates a ton of content. Like if you look at a lot of our content, we only have to create a few intentional pieces and then be able to chop it up multiple ways. We're also putting it on different platforms because people search in different areas. So going back to, you could be the greatest solution ever, but if nobody knows about you, so if people are searching on YouTube or people are searching on Google or people are looking through podcast, like it just allows the same message to be put on multiple platforms that allow people to find you. And I think that's especially true for nonprofits. And how do they get on these different platforms as well?
Yeah, I want to pull out something that your authenticity of you caring so much about these stories to do these podcasts and whatnot. And I think something that brought up is I would love to spread as much as possible. Too many people care about those views. You said you
Mm,
didn't come up for air or whatnot or
I
look at
don't
it
ever
for a
look at
year,
them.
right?
I still
That's
don't.
amazing. That's
Yeah, I
amazing.
still
Just
don't.
if you're passionate about something, tell those stories. If you have people within the organization that's not necessarily the operator or the owner, it's someone who's passionate, who's working 10 hours a week, let them tell their story as well. And you know what? Once in a while, maybe once a year, look at the views. You can see what's working, what's not working, but don't be worried about. I get people say, I'm only getting 100 views or 100 listens. First of all, 100 people listening to you. Imagine 100 people
In a
in like an
room.
auditorium. First of all, that's
Hmm.
a lot of people.
Yeah.
But then those 100 people, I would rather have 100 passionate people listen to my thing than 100,000 people who are like, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like, pat yourself on the back there for sure. And one more thing, I want to give you a trivia question. Gosh, I want to give you a
Oh
trivia
gosh.
question,
Oh
okay?
gosh.
To your point of, people, you just said people collect content in different places. You never know, right? It's very dispersed, demographic information, like kind of nerd
Hmm.
marketing stuff. Uh, you said Google's number one search engine, YouTube is number two. You're correct there. Gen
Hmm.
Z, our young population, we got probably some young folks listening to this, right? They're in the workforce. They're both college students and early career professionals. What is their number one search engine? Gen Z.
I'd have to guess ChatGPT.
Good. It could be in the future, right? It is
Okay.
upwards. It just the
Or
download
Instagram.
TikTok.
TikTok. I was gonna say TikTok too. I was like some social media platform or chat. Like,
Yep.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
to your point, right? This isn't something where we can think, oh, I read a marketing book 5 years ago and I'm
Hmm.
good now. Like it changes up,
Yeah.
constantly. So those folks listening, upskilling their abilities, it's going to pay off dramatically because most people aren't, and you're going to pass them up.
Exactly. I want to talk about personal branding here in a minute, but before we move on, a lesson that I learned, and I'd like you to just say, nope, that's an anomaly. But I think sometimes in marketing we focus so much on like perfection, or just having it a certain way, or I don't know. I'm drawing a blank on this saying, but there's almost like, you compromise like actually getting it done or the
Mhm.
purpose of good for, the sake of perfection or whatever the phrase is. But what I've learned in marketing is that, especially SEO, again, SEO for those at search engine optimization is how people find you, right? The meta world and the Google algorithms and all of the things, right? When people go into a search engine and they type in your name, like, how does that come up? Um, what I've learned is that it's less about it being perfect, more about volume and consistency over a long period of time. So oftentimes I see small businesses or especially nonprofits, they will do some sort of like marketing element that might be a couple times a year they'll send out a campaign, maybe a print something or another, if it's on a local space, or maybe it's just a newsletter like once a quarter or once a month or something like this, right? But if you're thinking about searchability, how do people find you or know that you exist? It for me had for my business, it had to be on the website, out in the search meta world. And I learned that consistently posting things by way of my blog, over a period of time, I'm talking like 2 times a week, every week for a couple years, it's a long game approach. Like, unless you have way more money than I do and you can go hire some national ad agency to go, drum up a lot of business, which by the way, none of us have. So it has to be a long game approach. And what I've learned in the lack of consistency, you just can't pick up the momentum. And just to put in perspective, I think before I went down this CEO or SEO obsession several years ago, I think I probably had about 7,000 people coming to my website every single year for the whole year. 7,000 people. I was like, wow, that's a lot. Um, Now we probably have about 15,000 a month. And I know that that's not even close to what it could be because I know that some of our competitors in this space do 3 times that volume, which is why I just redid the website because there's got to be some things on mine that are optimized, right? So that I completely and 100% attribute to consistency over a period of time. So Dustin, you can fact check me. Is that true? Like that's like one of the most important things with marketing I tell people.
Yeah, absolutely. So old school way, right? When you think of like old school marketing and advertising, it was very campaign driven, right?
Right.
That's if you've ever read a book before, kind of 10 years ago, 15 years ago past, absolutely that was kind of the way because you had limited opportunities, limited eyeballs, opportunity for eyeballs, etc. Now those days are well gone. You're
Mm,
moving now into a quantity over quality even level. And we don't
hmm
say like quality isn't important. Here's what it means. It's how can we just test some stuff? How it doesn't cost us anything to just test some content out there. And what you do is when you test content, what content works, what doesn't, you see, like you said, you came up for air, saw the those metrics over time. We have to care about metrics. What did well? Then we say, okay, this is our content we know does well. These type of interviews, we move this into a second bucket. That's our quality
hmm
bucket. We'll spend some more time on those, but we're going to still keep playing. We're still going to
Right.
keep making some stuff. Some of it may flop as long as we're not insensitive or anything. We're not just pushing out stuff but as long as we are playing to our brand values,
hmm
100% push out content to see what sticks and what doesn't. You never I
hmm
taught a class, The Science of Going Viral, Tasha, right? And
hmm
it was basically can we make you go viral? And it happened, right? We had
hmm
a number of students get millions of views, 14 million
hmm
views, etc. And a lot of the stuff that went viral weren't the pieces of content that you spent all day making. Like
Right.
some of the
Right.
students like, I'm going to make all day on this. And I didn't. But some stuff
Right.
that was like 5 minutes of work, less, 14 million views. So I think quality,
Right.
I mean, just get it out there. I want to give you another tool as well. Okay. Before we move on, you say you're looking at your competitors.
hmm
There are so many tools, Tasha, to see
hmm
what apps, what tools other websites are using. So, like
hmm
one that I use is a Wappalizer. There's a bunch of them, right? So I'm not just promoting one, but that's one I use, Wappalizer. You go to their website, put in your competitor's URL, and it
hmm
tells you all of the widgets they're using, all the tools
mm
that their website's using. So it's using
Interesting.
that quality, but I'm gonna give you that stalking tool as well if
That's
someone's
interesting.
yeah.
I support legalized stalking
There you
to a
go.
degree. I just call it, competitor analysis, right?
There you go.
We are talking about marketing. I'm pretty sure that's part of the theory there.
Absolutely.
So let's switch gears a little bit, as it relates to personal branding for leaderships of organizations, because I've had different episodes where we've talked about marketing, we've talked about brand building, and I think sometimes we talk about logos and mission statements and websites and the aesthetics of websites and things of that nature. And it feels to me that the organizations that come to top of my mind, come by they come to the top of my mind because I can connect an actual human being to it. There's a bit of a persona there, right? And I struggled with this honestly, a bit of myself. I've gone back and forth between, okay, I know I have to be a visible person when the company was first starting because, like, I need to get some clients, right? And then we kept growing and it became a team. And I didn't want to be the leader that's like, look at me and everything I've done, because I couldn't have done any of this without the team actually behind me. So I felt a certain kind of way about being the face of the company because it truly is. Now I have 65 people, right? So it's certainly not me. And I don't even want to take credit for all that. But I also understand how important it is for people to be able to connect, like some sort of human relationship with a brand or with content.
Yeah.
And I don't think the nonprofit world necessarily embraces it in that way for probably some of the same internal struggles that I did. But I've had some interesting conversation about employer branding and why this is important. I would say employer branding. That's not what I meant. I meant personal branding of maybe the CEO or the director of development or program, chief program officer, whatever it might be, of these C-suite individuals. We've had some conversations about it and why it's important. But I'd like to hear from your words. What do you think about that? Is that something that should be prioritized by C-suite people?
Yeah, I would say so. The term that is used a lot, if you want to look up some more articles, YouTube, thought leadership is this kind of movement. Really, it's been around for quite a while. Only kind of TikTok world and this change of authenticity, and that
Hmm.
consumers, stakeholders, donors, they want to feel like they're connecting with authentic brands, whether that be the shoes they wear all the way to who they donate toward.
Yeah.
And how you bring that authenticity is through values. And who brings
Hmm.
values? People. People are the
Hmm.
values of the organization. The organization, right? Even though it's your baby, the thing whether you're a founder or you work here, this is the thing your life is behind, you work 40 hours. This is still a faceless thing, right?
Hmm.
This is a business by an
Right.
organization. Those people are the faces, the values, those who actually exemplify those values. So thought leadership is this idea where we take an executive, a director, someone out there who lives those values, and we can push that message through them. Whether that could be online, whether that be through interviews. So I'll give you another hack, right? So I want to try to give your listeners as many hacks as possible. Quoted. I think it's like QWOTED. Again,
Okay.
I'm not affiliated with them. That's just it's spelt weird like that. But you sign up for this, right? So Tasha, let's say you sign up for Quoted. You're going to get an email. I think it's like once a day from reporters, journalists. It could be podcasters. It could be
Mm,
CNN that's saying, I'm looking to interview someone about this. If
mm,
that's your topic, right, you sign up for what categories that your
hmm.
nonprofit's associated with. You click it and say, I'm this person. I'm the founder of this. We do this. I'd be happy to interview. You get this interview. Now, Tasha, you are interviewed. It could be one sentence, but it's
Yeah.
one sentence or a full podcast on Fast Company or a niche specific blog, a local blog, whatever the case may be. That now gets that brand out there because what they're going to do is, Tasha, you give your quote, they're going to hyperlink to your organization.
Right.
So everyone who reads that now sees the organization. It helps with SEO, right? Because there's
Hmm.
a link that goes to the website. The website's going to come higher in search simply because you answered a question. The
Right.
company can't do that.
Right.
People can
Right.
absolutely do that. So I do these, right? I'm here in St. Louis, so I've done this for a lot of like local companies here about this thought leadership and how to build those brands for
Hmm.
these companies. And we've seen some of the quickest impact as far as searches and visits through this kind of thought leadership idea because it's
Hmm.
authentic, it's cheap. We don't need to go out and make some high-end video campaign, right?
Hmm.
And it connects, right? There's a higher click-through rate
Yeah.
on these using thought leadership. It's fantastic. I want to, Tasha, you're awesome at it. I'd like to hear from you. Like, how do you get at it? You're natural at this.
I probably need to be doing more of that. So I'm definitely going to write that down and being quoted more. A lot of the stuff that we do, we just kind of naturally push out. But this is something that I would love to see more nonprofit leaders participate in because I think what it does is it builds a lot of credibility to the program, in their space. So, for example, if you are dealing with oh gosh, there's just a lot of like turmoil and conversations around whether federal funding is going to be cut for Head Start, early Head Start programs, for example. And if you are leading a Head Start program at a local school, to be able to continue positioning yourself and fielding questions about what impact that's going to have on your programming, on the families it serves. Like, what are some of the things that people that maybe aren't participating in those programs, what do they need to know? Why is that important? And for you to continue sharing information that you already know and putting your name and your organization into publications that are coming across people that would not normally maybe come across your organization. I'm just thinking about articles that might run in like the Business Journal, for example, or I would imagine that I don't know the demographics, but people that are reading the Business Journal are probably not leveraging, programs like Head Start, Early Head Start, right? These are like CEOs and entrepreneurs, but they could be on boards or they could be potential donors or something to that effect, right? Or they may have connections at the legislative level. Who knows, right? So that's just kind of an example that I'm thinking about that I would love to see more organizations tap into how to get press. And I know that that's something that every nonprofit leader would say, I want free press. I want free press. I don't know if they know how to do that. So I think a tool like that is going to be really invaluable. And like I said, it really positions them as an expert in that particular area in their community and beyond. Because I've had people reach out to me on national um, publications. I don't know how they find me, but I'm going to sign up for one of these things that you just described. But they reach out to me probably because they see my content online. And now it's like, oh, this firm that's, while we're virtual, we work with clients all over the country. But my headquarters is in St. Louis. So like, how did that paper in Boston find me? Like that's interesting, right? It's so much easier to do that either even on a local or giving yourself a national presence. Like I said, and really building that expertise for the organization and you yourself as a leader.
And we need to share
That's
those tools
helpful.
more often. Like, obviously, I'm biased. Like, I'm a professor. I'm all for just giving out, giving out as much of these
Yeah.
things. But like, we got to be able to share these tactics as much as possible instead of having agencies that are charging so much, kind of,
Yeah.
holding back and gatekeeping these things, right? I'd love to, right? Again, I didn't plan for this, but like any listen, like I have this workbook that I go through that I give to like when I go with like actual for-profit companies. I give them this workbook for this thought leadership, basically fill it out to kind of build out your thought leadership that has like the quoted and these tools. Anyone who's listening, I tell you, especially in the nonprofit world, if you just DM me on LinkedIn, it's just Dr.
Okay.
Dustin York, I will send you the workbook. Like I have no book to sell you. I have no online courses. I
Yeah.
have nothing to sell you. I'll send it to anyone who's listening. It's just a workbook, right? That kind of
Okay.
help them through their process. If they're thinking that like, I'm not at Tasha's level, how do I just kind of start at that process? I'd happy to send it. I'm a nerd,
Okay.
so the
Well, in
professor.
that, we'll put that in the show notes for people to be able to, and we'll hyperlink your LinkedIn. So you can do that.
Yeah.
So I'm running out of time. Lots of stuff that I could talk all day about these sorts of things. As I warned you all before when we started recording this, I love to geek out on these sort of things. But I'd like to, sometimes this feels overwhelming for people that aren't as passionate about marketing or doesn't have the understanding or they're new to all of this. So I'm taking that in consideration. What is the one best next thing that
Mm.
somebody listening to this that maybe they don't have any of these things in place? Like, what should they go do next? Understanding maybe biggest impact, priority. I don't know how you would
Yeah.
categorize that, but what would you suggest? Like, okay, I need to go do a bunch of things. I don't even know where to begin. What is the next best thing?
All right. So one thing I could give you a whole spiel of strategies and whatnot. I'll give you a simple one, super simple one. Pick one social media, whatever you have
Mm,
built already. It's a Facebook. I don't care what it is. Let's not go like in metrics and whatnot. Let's whatever you have today. Say do 3 months, right?
hmm
3 months, and then you can come back and you can hit me up and that Ginger lied to me or whatnot. It's gonna work. So what you're gonna do is post one thing on social media on whatever you have every business day at least, right? Every
Okay.
business, which you can schedule it, so you don't actually have to be on there every single day. Do it all on Monday and schedule it everything of the week. Awesome, easy. Then what you do, take those 5 pieces of social media content for the week. All of those 5 just go into an email newsletter.
hmm
Email is king. Email is not dead. It's the one way you have direct access to your
hmm
people. I don't care if you have 5 people signed up for it. It doesn't
hmm
matter whatsoever. Use
hmm
something like I like uh, not a Survey Monkey, the Mailchimp. Mailchimp's a
hmm
great one. You can do it for free, right? That weekly newsletter is just those 5 social media content pieces. It's no extra
Hmm.
work. Just put all
Hmm.
5 into an email blast. It goes out. So now you have some sort of rhythm, one a day for
Hmm.
5 days, email news. Do that for 3 months. This is what you're going to do. One time, just one time a month, you're going to sell. So 3 weeks, you're not going to sell anything. You're not
Hmm.
trying to push to get for donors to come to this event. You're just creating content that's about your values, about stories about people. You're not
Hmm.
selling anything whatsoever. Just 1 week a month, you try to sell something.
Okay.
There's this, we're raising money for this, come to this event. And then you stop selling for 3 weeks, you sell for 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
Get into that, do that for 3 months, right? So you're selling just 3 times. So that it's little time. You can do all of that one day a week. Schedule it out. I guarantee you're going to see that increase of traffic, of views, of engagement, right?
Hmm.
Watch the email. If that email newsletter gets up to 25 people, those are 25, picture
Right.
25 people in a room staring at you.
Right.
I bet you're going to get a little nervous. Like that's a lot of
Right.
attention. Try that
Right.
out. I love for
Yeah.
your viewers, your listeners, try that out this month.
Okay. Sounds good. And it sounds like it's going to take a little time to, maybe set up a MailChimp, and it might take a little bit of time to kind of create some templates for graphics on Canva and some of these like low cost tools and things like that. But I think what you're describing is something that could theoretically be done in 5 hours or less a week. Like you said, especially if you carve out the time. What I've learned marketing managers do, especially social media people, they do it all at the same time block it, get it done, schedule it, and then they move on to the next thing. So, if you're somebody that struggles to like build the habits and come up with something to do every single day or something like that, then try time blocking it, getting all done. And I think eventually you'll realize something like that could take you just a couple hours a week, even including writing up the newsletter and scheduling that to go out as well. So that's super helpful, Dustin. You had shared the best way to get in touch with you sounds like LinkedIn. So we'll put your LinkedIn profile hyperlinked into our show notes. Any other ways that people can get in touch with you, or should we just focus on that one?
Yeah, I mean, there's drdustinyork.com. I have a lot of content up there, like the TED Talk up there if you're a TED person.
Okay.
So there's a lot of stuff on drdustinyork.com. If you're a nonprofit specifically, right? Obviously, I do keynotes for the nonprofit organization. I've done conferences. I've done them in St. Louis even quite a few times. But if you're a nonprofit, I try to do 3 or 4 pro bono events a year.
Okay.
I've worked with Harris Stowe here locally, HBCUs nationally. But if you're a nonprofit, let me, I try to do 3 or 4 pro bono things a year. So please reach out to me. I'd be
Okay.
happy. I'm a nerd. Tosh, big nerd.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for this conversation. It's been super helpful. And like I said, going back to your offer, Dustin, that if you are a nonprofit and you are thinking a little bit more about what you call thought leadership or personal branding or how to elevate your self, not just as a leader of an organization, but a bit of the humanity and the work that you're doing, reach out to Dustin on his LinkedIn. We'll put that in the show notes and request that workbook that he had described. And like I do every episode, please engage with this content in some way wherever you're at to make sure that this and all other content like this is searchable for other nonprofit leaders like yourself. We'll see you next time. Bye.